Boston College has been known for finding diamonds in the rough, but man, this new transfer, he is going to really open some eyes.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor of Eagle Insider, and I've been covering Boston College for the past 10 years. If you're looking for insider information, great analysis, and everything in between, you need to make sure that you are locked on to Locked On BC by hitting that like and subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. We're free everywhere you look. Now, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On today's show, I want to talk quickly about one last discussion. We sometimes throw them in there about Jeff Hafley and his what he brought in terms of quarterbacks. Because with Jacoby Robinson leaving earlier this month, most of the guys that Hafley brought in are gone. We'll talk about what that means. The ACC coaching ranking that has me thinking that Bill O'Brien is not getting any respect at all. And we're going to kick things off with a transfer portal commitment. On Saturday, Boston College landed a commitment from Eli Boykin. Got his name right. Eli Boykin from Barton College, which is in North Carolina. It's a D2 school. He was a linebacker there. He was defensive player of the year for a freshman in his conference, which was the Carolinas Conference. Never heard of it myself. I'm not a big D2 football fan. That being said, there was a lot of Power 4 interest in him. West Virginia offered him. There was Western Kentucky. There was another school that looked at him. So he was getting interest. And BC went in and grabbed him. Now, who is Eli Boykin? He was just a freshman last year, but he had 55 tackles. He can play. This is a guy who can play. And my thought is, yeah, he's D2, but if you can play at the level he played as a true freshman right away, you can play anywhere. You can be developed. And remember, Boston College is a developmental school. So if you've got the coaching staff that see what you see on that guy's film, think you can develop him into something more, this is a guy you can go and grab. As I said before on a previous episode, I like that they've landed some Power 4 guys. We have someone from Michigan, someone from Wake Forest. They've been doing a nice job in West Virginia. Adding one, not going to hurt you. Now, here's a thing that I think is really important that I want to make sure people understand is what position Eli's going to play. Eli is listed as a linebacker. He played linebacker at Barton College, but he's like 6'4", 240. He's not coming to BC to be a Davion Crouch or a Owen McGowan type linebacker. He's coming to be an edge. Okay, that's an outside linebacker. Technically, that's what Donovan Azaraku played last year. He was an edge / outside linebacker. If you were watching the draft last month, you saw whenever they listed linebackers, Azaraku was up there. That's what Boykin's going to be. He's going to be an edge rusher / outside linebacker, which is it's a different position. It's different because you have your interior offensive linebackers or weak side, strong side linebackers with Crouch and McGowan and even Jason Hewlett, the guy that you brought in earlier from Michigan. Boykin's going to play a very different position. And honestly, I think this is great. You already brought in Favor Bates. You already brought in Anya Nwisi. You have some freshmen. Jaden Fry's already there. And then you have your guys that you're hoping will jump up, like Jason Flint, Josiah Griffin. You have all those edge rushers that you're hoping. As I said during camp, Flint had probably the biggest eye-opening performances. Still not sure if it's enough. So going into camp, you had a need here. And I saw BC dabbling, looking at more specific edge rushers, guys that you would know of as edge rushers. But I like this one. You got a guy with speed who you could build up and use that Donovan Azaraku playbook and get him into something. again, I go back to every single guy that they landed in this transfer portal class. My question is, will they play this year? And my gut says no. My gut says they're going to, especially because he's D2, get him up to speed, get him up to D1 shape, all that stuff, and that'll probably take the year. I hesitate to say that as a definitive thought, though. And I don't, and as someone who just covers a team, I don't want to say anything definitively because I don't know what the coaches know. The coaches are the experts here. They may see something and go, man, this guy's going to get out there right away. But all these guys, whether it's Jason Hewlett or Chris Marable or Mekhi Byerson or Boykin, if they go to camp this summer and they kill it, they're going to play. That's just the way it is. You earn it, you play. It's a pretty simple system. I love that Bill O'Brien does not just give guys the spots and just say, hey, this is yours. But, these guys are going to come in. They're going to compete just like everybody else. And if they get it, they get it. And so that's something to look forward to. We'll have to find out when I get to camp this summer. But Boykin, is it the sexiest recruit you've ever landed in terms of like coming from school that you're just like, wow, this is a 5-star? No, he's rated an 87 in the 247 transfer portal. Had some good offers. He was someone that schools looked at. He was not a recruit from a D2 school that BC just had to go digging and digging and digging to find. This is not like an Earl Grant, like Devin McLaughlin, like where the heck, or Jaden Zachary, where you're like, where the heck did you find these people? When Boykin entered, he got national notice because people were like, ooh, this guy could be something to move up. So I think this is an excellent get for BC. And again, I am a big fan of what Bill O'Brien has done to address issues in the portal during the spring. Last year, if I remember correctly, BC landed 0 players in the portal during the spring session. They had Cam Martinez, who was committed to Jeff Hafley. They worked on making sure he stayed in, and that was about it. And so, and even when Jeff Hafley was here, it was never that big of a deal. So 4 is a nice it's a nice way to bolster, and clearly it was the defense that he wanted to look at because he went 4 for that defense. Now, folks are asking me, is this it? If I was a betting man, I'd say yes. I don't see BC involved with anyone else really right now in the portal. They could obviously be a name that pops up and they get the tape and go, wow, we got to go for that guy. But it's been really quiet from what I've heard. They're getting ready for official visit season and recruiting. They've kind of turned that page. So I'm assuming for the most part, the portal is done for Boston College and you'll have your 4. And I like it. Again, a couple Power 4 players, a nice project here, and you're good to go. So we'll see what Eli Boykin does and how long it takes him to kind of get up to that speed. But this is a nice addition for Bill O'Brien, and they did a nice job of sealing. I don't know if he even made his other visits, but he came to BC this week. He was there on Thursday. I talked to him, and he committed shortly after. So it wasn't that long. And I know he had other plans, so I'm not sure if they did it before or whatever. BC just killed it, so that's good for them. Now, in our second segment, a rating system of coaches came up, and I want to complain about it. I think that they're really, really not being fair to Bill O'Brien, and I'll explain why in just a moment. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with an inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you can find exactly what you need, delivered fast and from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. We are your team every day, and I want to thank all our first listeners out there who listen to Locked On BC the first thing in the morning. I know I have my go-to. It's Locked On Celtics. When I get in my car, I got to see what John Corrales has to say about the playoffs. And what I want to shout out all of you who have made me here at Locked On BC your first listen, and to our everydayers, you guys are also the MVPs here. Now, we're into the summer months, and I'm telling you now, recruiting is going to be a big discussion topic in the next month as official visit season starts. But, I would say July, this month, there'll be a lot of off-season things that are going on. And I'll give you some specific examples that we're going to call AJ Gets Mad at the Off-Season. And so AJ is going to get mad at the offseason right now for an article that I just saw in the USA Today where they ranked ACC coaches. And if I were to ask you, where did Bill O'Brien fall in the list? And you said anything higher than 12, you would be wrong because he was 12th. He's only ahead of Jake Dickert of Wake Forest, Justin Wilcox, Brent Pry, and Tony Elliott and Frank Reich. That's it. He's below Mike Norvell, who just had an absolutely dog poop season. Bill Belichick, who hasn't coached anything but seems to be having a lot of fun with all this drama that's going on around him. But it was the comment in the article about Boston College that made me want to blow a gasket. And I'm going to read you what it said. This was written. I'll shout out the writer for this too, because it's Blake Topmeyer, and everyone's got their own opinion, so I'm not being mean. I'm not going to get it on Blake. But he said, Bill O'Brien steered the offense for both Bill Belichick and Nick Saban, two all-time greats. But the most impressive line on his resume occurred when he took over for Jerry Sandusky after the Jerry Sandusky scandal and won 15 games. O'Brien's 7-6 debut at Boston College offered more evidence of a reliable floor, but there aren't also signs of a high ceiling. Okay, so Blake, no signs of a high ceiling. I look at what Bill O'Brien did last year with a team that was not his at all. It was entirely Jeff Hafley's, and he won 7 games. Okay? He had to remove his quarterback because he couldn't figure out the offense and replace him with a guy that got benched at FIU and still won 7 games. There was one game that BC got blown out in, and they were still in that, and that was Virginia Tech. And that was all the Bashal Tootin game. They were the only team in the country to really hang with SMU before the playoffs. They were one possession away from potentially winning that game, and they hung into every other game that they were in. Either they won it or they were just there and barely lost. So to me, not getting blown out constantly, winning more, beating teams that you don't normally beat, like Michigan State, Florida State. I know Florida State was terrible, but how does that not show that your ceiling is getting higher? Okay? You're developing guys. You're bringing in Dylan Lonergan. Like, it just... and I know you guys are going to say, AJ, why are you reading this stuff? But I read it, and it gets me going, right? The fact that you say that he doesn't have a high ceiling. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, I could see, a good Bill O'Brien team being better than what we saw last year. Like, he can develop this program. He had to basically make a running start and figure things out on the fly with this team. Now he's entrenched. What will we see? That's what's going to be fascinating, and that's why I don't agree with this. And that's why when I saw, where did he have? He had Mike Norvell as 4. Yeah, Mike Norvell, who almost got fired for last year as the 4th best coach. I get it. He had a good season the year before, and I'm sure because I'm getting frustrated about this. What coach was ahead of Bill O'Brien? That's right, Fran Brown. Fran Brown's up there, which I'm gonna pick my battles on complaining about Syracuse this year because yeah, they did win 11 games, so I am not going to argue that he shouldn't be ahead of them right now. If you're going to ask me who to coach a coach, I would pick Bill O'Brien every day of the week because, as we saw when BC played them, once things went BC's way, he just carved up Fran Brown like it was a Christmas turkey. But I get that. I just don't think Boston College gets any, and they have not earned it. I don't think they get any respect. And when I read things like this, it reinforces my beliefs in this, that no matter what BC does, they were 7-5. They won, 4 out of their last 5 games before the bowl game. And I hate using bowl games as any sort of indicator because it's just a crapshoot. I mean, BC played with nobody. They had no offensive line. They didn't have Ezeraku. It was a mess, right? So they did take a step forward. They have a higher ceiling than you think, Blake. I think this year might be tougher because they play 4, was it 3 or 4 playoff teams? But once they continue to build this depth and they have the coaches get to these players, they're going to be better. This team is not, I look at a coach that's ranked 12th and think of like a coach that's just like barely hanging on, right? I look at like what Jeff Hafley was like 2 years ago. And that's where I think of when I think of like coaches that are ranked 12th in their conference, not Bill O'Brien, who, I mean, for every BC fan out there watching, well, at least most of you, this is a coach that really looks like he has the program heading in the right direction for the first time in decades. That they like, there's life in this program. That he's got the culture. He understands it. He has the program heading in the right direction. I mean, I just talked about the whole transfer portal thing. Old coaches, we would have just been sitting here going, well, we got the team that we got. We lost a few, so that stinks, but we can't get anybody else. Well, Bill O'Brien didn't let that happen. He went out there and he dressed it, and he did a great job at it. Also, speaking of that, I mentioned Bryce Steele is not in the transfer portal last week. If you had not heard that, Bryce Steele entered the transfer portal, removed his name. He is coming back to Boston College football. I did not have that clarified yet. I said on an earlier episode I would look that up. And I got confirmation he's coming back. So that's great news too. You got another addition right there. So in our final segment, I want to dive back a little bit. And we talked a lot about the Jeff Hafley era, but now with things kind of coming to a head with Bill O'Brien completely shaking up the quarterback room, I want to look at what the quarterback room was like for Jeff Hafley while he was here and kind of give you a vision of where it was and why what Bill O'Brien is doing is so much more impressive. I'll get you into that in just a moment. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much money I was spending going out to eat each week. It was piling up, and Monarch really helped me see that. And when I was able to show this to my wife, she was like, hey, AJ, this is good. You're actually looking at our finances and we're working together and collaborating. And that was great for our relationship, but also for us as a family, kind of getting our finances all in one place. It allowed us to set goals, stay on the same page, all without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Wrapping things up here at Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm AJ Black. I want to tell you to check out Locked On ACC. I mentioned it last week. I did my first ever ACC squad, and I've been getting good reviews from it. I think a lot of you guys have watched it. It's in our feed. It's the most recent one. If you want to hear me, I'm in there. talk about Syracuse. I talk about George Rooks. I talk about Conti Morg. It's a lot of fun. It's a little different from here, but I think you might enjoy it. So it's on YouTube wherever you get your podcasts. Now, again, with an off season, I didn't get a chance to really dive into this discussion when it happened. Earlier last month, Jacoby Robinson was one of the latest Jeff Hafley quarterbacks to leave Boston College. And with his exit, it basically ties a bow on Jeff Hafley's quarterback recruiting class. All of them are gone. You have Emmett Moorhead, who actually just transferred to Minnesota, which I'm kind of excited to see where that goes. He missed all of last year at Old Dominion, but he never figured out, he got bumped by Thomas Castellanos. He never got going here. But we'll start in order. Dennis Grosel was the first quarterback. He got him very quickly because he, came in late from St. Xavier in Ohio. Grosel had his moments, obviously. And, sorry, not Dennis Grosel. I meant Matt Reevy. Matt Reevy came in, never played here, and I think he ended up in like D3, like Finlay or something like that. Never ended up doing anything. Peter Delaportis, another quarterback they brought in, never played here, transferred out, came back, never played again, was a practice squad player. That was all he did. You had Jacoby Robinson, who came in, was doing some stuff, but then got in. He played couple snaps, I think, against Duquesne last year. That was it. Emmett Moorhead, he comes in, as I said before, gets benched for Thomas Castellanos. Had probably the best quarterback that Hafley brought in and this is just recruiting. Okay, then he brings in Robinson, so he brings in Montague last, Jonathan Montague, who was a mobile quarterback. Immediately, I think it was like 2 weeks into camp last year, turns over to wide receiver, and he's not going back. He's going to be a wide receiver. That's the quarterbacks. So you probably got about like 3 or 4 games out of play out of Emmett Moorhead, and that was about it. Everyone else failed and burned out. Not good. But I'm sure if you asked Jeff Hafley, he would also point to his transfers, because he did. He brought in a bunch of transfers. He brought in Phil Dracovic, he brought in Grayson James, and he brought in Thomas Castellanos. And most of that, I mean, that's that's a very different group. So it's interesting because I bring it up because the guys that you bring in to develop, they just weren't able to develop. You bring in transfers, and they're at least 2 out of 3. Castellanos and Dracovic were very hit or miss. Dracovic got killed, and then Castellanos had his own issues. We don't know what I still want to see more from Grayson James. I'm not 100% sure if he's the guy. I think he may be, but I'm not 100% sure. But to Hafley's credit, he did much better in the transfer portal. I say that going ahead to where Bill O'Brien is, because I think Bill O'Brien is going to take this quarterback room to the next level. We've seen Shaker Rising at camp. I've seen Shaker Rising. He's incredible. I'm not joking when I say he's better than any of the guys I just mentioned, just without even looking at what they can do. You brought in Dylan Lonergan, who's already going to challenge for your starting quarterback. You're already looking at quarterbacks moving forward, like Furion and Ferrara, Femi Babalola, DJ Bordeaux. These guys it's a different level. So, yes, Hafley was able to bring in some transfers that were able to help win some games for him. I look at where this quarterback room is now under Bill O'Brien already in just day 430, and it is night and day what he's done to this quarterback room. And when you brought him in, yes, you knew about the culture and the development, but we talked a lot about his history with quarterbacks, and he's already making such a huge move here. He's already making that room dynamic, and it's not just him. It's Will Long, it's Jonathan DiBiaso. He's got a good group to work with those quarterbacks, but it's already flipped. Like, all the guys that were Hafley guys, other than Grayson James, are gone. Montague's a wide receiver, but you know what I mean? They're not in the quarterback room anymore. So I'm very excited that I think this room is going to start really pushing themselves and you're going to have options if something were to happen, right? Because like right now, how many years have we gone where you have a quarterback and if he gets hurt, your season's dead? Right now, you have Grayson James and Dylan Lonergan. If something, God forbid, was going to happen, you could potentially not even skip a beat. And that right there is a huge difference between Bill O'Brien and anyone since Tom O'Brien. I'm just going to be honest with you there. No one's had that kind of depth for BC in years. And so that is why Bill O'Brien is already making a huge impact at Boston College. On tomorrow's show, we got lots more to talk about. We're still in the portal season. We have other things that could be going on. We need to talk basketball. We need to talk all sorts of good things. Make sure you're locked in here at Locked On BC. And if you're an everydayer, you know to follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247 and check out my work at Eagle Insider. Hit that like and subscribe button. So many of you listen. Some of you don't hit the like button. It does help with the algorithm. I hope you do that. And I'll see you all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.